Hi there. Today is the 6th of November. It's the election day in America. Donald Trump has won, and I congratulate him on winning the mandate of the American people. And it is a complete mandate of the American people in the sense that the houses of the Senate and the House of Representatives have all gone towards the Republican Party. Now, I didn't vote for Donald Trump. I didn't promote Donald Trump. What I did do was promote Dr. Jill Stein. And I stand by that because she's the only candidate out of the two main or three main that stood half a chance of doing anything, was completely against the genocide that's taking place in Gaza. Now, Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, both of them are genocidal because they support what Israel is doing. I didn't vote for him, and I wouldn't vote for him. I would vote for Jill Stein. And if you happen to look at my Twitter feed, you'd see that. But you don't see that because you guys are not on Twitter. Literally every post I've only ever talked about Jill Stein. So what I'll say to you is though, if I had the choice of Kamala Harris or Donald Trump, 1 billion% I would pick Donald Trump over her. Why? Because she's presided over a genocide. Her and her administration, while she was vice president, was involved and complicit in the murder of 200,000 people in Gaza. That number was 180,000 people, according to a report by the Lancet about 12 weeks ago. So I'm sure they've breached another 200, another 20,000 to get over that. And then I've got friends sitting there going like, America, you only had one thing to do. I've got rooms available for my friends if they want to come over here. The Americans are sick and tired of wars. Americans are sick and tired of seeing their money going to Ukraine. There is a ton of people that are not thinking like you, that are not happy about their money being wasted on wars in other countries when they are being beggared into poverty. So put yourself in the shoes of the average American. Instead of thinking for yourself, I'm going to believe the bullshit that comes out of the BBC, the ITV, and everything else all the time. Ukraine had an election in 2014. The Ukrainian people chose to have a president who pivoted towards Russia. That was a fair and whatever equal election. But the Americans, Ambassador Nuland, decided to do what? Make sure she promoted a color revolution in Ukraine that made the Americans control who is in charge of Ukraine. Why did they do that? They didn't do that for the love of the Ukrainian people. They've done that because they want to keep putting pressure on Russia, because they want to make sure that Russia is not able to stay as a whole substantive one country. The mission is to try and break Russia up into as smaller pieces as it can so they can manage it and gobble it up like they have done everything else. Because that's how the United States works. Divide and conquer. Find an enemy for someone inside a country, promote them, and then get the what's it called, the resources. Now, Russia happens to be one of the the richest countries for resources in the world. Nothing would make America happier than to see Russia, which is one government controlling all those resources, divided up so they can send their corporations in. But don't think like that. You just think about freedom. Oh, we're going to give them freedom with that fucking eagle that, oh, they got oil, so let's send freedom over there. They need some democracy over there. The Russians are an old culture, just like we're an old culture. They have had enough wars done to them that they are sick and tired of it. And when you're turning around and saying that Ukraine can now join NATO and be right next to Russia, no. There was an agreement made that the NATO would not expand any further east. When Russia and the Soviet Union broke down, that was an agreement that was made. And it wasn't put in writing, but it was agreed between two sets of people. But the Americans made sure that NATO expanded all the way, and now they're trying to expand it into Ukraine. Now, Russia told them there is a red line for us. You cannot bring NATO to our front line. There has to be a buffer. They don't give a shit about that. And unfortunately, most of my friends are sitting there feeling sorry for Ukraine, this, Ukraine, that. There's a bunch of Nazis, the Ukrainians who are fighting in the right-hand side of the Ukraine, or to the eastern side of it, were basically just out and out Nazis, and they are still Nazis now, and they're still doing this shit. And guess what? The Russians don't like Nazis because they lost millions of people to them. You can't expect people who lost millions of lives to Nazis to suddenly say, well, they're Ukrainian Nazis, we're okay with them because they're Ukrainians. The Ukrainian Nazis hate the Russians and hate everyone other than their own white people. So that's it. You have to understand there is two sides to every story, and I hope to God that you get it. And I hope to God that you get the reasons why Americans are sick and tired of wars. Because their country is getting poorer by the day while money is being spent on Israel, Ukraine, and every other place where there is a war instead of back in their country. And that's why we would like to see NATO, I personally would like to see NATO fucked off. Because all it ever does is help make sure that there is conflicts all over the world. Iraq is one of them. Afghanistan's one of them. Libya's another one of them. The Balkans. Wherever you can think of, they basically are there to cause fucking mayhem. They're there to make sure the money laundering operation for the military industrial complex of the American state and the British state continues to flow and make money and money and money. Profit for the blood at the altar of war, which is what they believe in. There is no altar of peace for these fuckers. There's only the altar of war that they're at, and they enjoy making money, sacrificing the blood of brown people, white people, poor people. That's why NATO needs to be fucked off. We need to find ways to have peace with people, talk to people, without having to shoot each other with missiles, guns, tanks, and whatever else. We need to get a grip to the fact that we do not need to kill people to live with them. We don't need to make profit from bullets. We don't need to make profit from war. We should try and make profit by just trying to live with people in peace. And NATO does not fucking help with peace. All it ever does is cause more fucking wars. And you all just sitting there going, oh, NATO, this, fuck NATO. Fuck NATO and everything it fucking stands for. It's not helped humanity. It's helped fucking bring wars, bloodshed, and chaos to every part of the fucking world it's gone to.